Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your Prosperity Tarot reading from the period between April 1st and July 1st, 2017. It's Raina here, your fellow Sagittarian, and I've already laid out the cards because I'm starting over. And before I begin, I just want to tell you that in addition to this, I'm going to be reading from an excerpt in Catherine M. Ponder's book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And if you would like a private reading, which I use your natal chart to kind of pinpoint power periods for you when it comes to your career, and I do also have combinations with love readings, you can click on the link below. I'm not going to mention astrological transits in this. And so before I get into the cards, let me read from that book that I mentioned. Okay. And this is the excerpt for you, Sagittarius, and for me. Your second genius power is creative imagination. Solomon was surely describing your genius power of creative imagination when he declared, "Where there is no vision, the people perish, but he that keepeth the law, happy is he." Proverbs 29:18. You can use your genius powers of creative imagination in interesting ways. From an individual standpoint, you can develop your creative imagination as a prosperity power in a very simple but pleasant way. We all wish to gain spiritual control of future events and plan for prosperity. Every night before retiring, it is good to think of the next day's plans. To release your genius power of creative imagination, I suggest that you use this technique. Instead of worrying about how the next day's events will come out, or instead of brooding over some troublesome phase of it, simply bring into your conscious thoughts all that you know about the next day's events. Begin with your early morning activities and mentally arrange the events of your whole day as you would like to see them. Every time some distressing possibility wells up in your feelings, take control of it by affirming, "I bless you with God's almighty good. God's good is now gaining control and all is well." Pleasantly accentuate the positive developments that you would like to experience the next day and take control of all else by affirming God's good control for it. For the entire day's activities, affirm, "I give thanks for the divinely satisfying fulfillment and for the divinely satisfying results." Thereafter, dismiss the matter from your mind. You have used your creative imagination to effect the right outworking of each situation. Circumstances, situations, personalities, all involved will then gravitate toward the perfect outworking, the perfect, prosperous fulfillment. This is a powerful method for using the mind to bring about expanded good in family, business, social, or spiritual matters. And I just wanted to add that, before you go to bed, there's a, I don't know, alpha, beta state, or what you would call it, but I think it's highly suggestive, right at that time before you're going to sleep. So it's really powerful in being able to, when you visualize those things, to maybe being very potent for manifestation. So I like that. I like that quite a bit. The overall theme for this next 90-day period is the Ace of Wands. I couldn't be happier to get this card as a theme. And this is a card of pure potential, of the seed of, manifestation. The fire element is connected to wands, so it is in alignment with our basic personality, if you will, which tends to be very enthusiastic, to the point of which, when we're not disciplined, can get out of control like a wildfire. So that was a that was a Bob Seger line, like a wildfire out of control against the wind. But actually, when we harness our ideas, and we really try to kind of condense them, not to be all over the map. I think that it creates that sort of stronger likelihood for things to gel. And this card is also associated with that enthusiasm of beginning a new project. And the passion, that passion really goes a long way in making something happen. We're not the type, the Pentacles are the types to be planners and be very methodical. We are the cheerleaders of the zodiac, all of the fire signs. So we are the ones that kind of encourage other people to pursue what they want to do and to initiate. But this is like a combination of initiation and enthusiasm. So that's why I like it so much. So it could be, sometimes the wands can relate to your own business. It doesn't have to be a business. Maybe you start a blog. Maybe you are starting a novel. Something creative for sure. In the past position, we have the Knight of Pentacles. For some of you, you may have tried to be that worker bee who just squirrels away your money. Maybe you succeeded and you have that money so that you can start something yourself. Maybe you were working towards this very moment. But for other people, it might have been just trying to be that person, but you weren't able to sustain it because you didn't have it in you. The passion wasn't in you. So it kind of petered out after a while. That's to be expected. This card is associated with Taurus. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. Completely different. And we're not motivated by money alone. We're not motivated by the promise of security alone. We're motivated by passion, first and foremost, and freedom. And that's why, having your own business is a perfect melding of those two concepts. What is here, which is so beautiful, and I love this card, the Star card. So if you have felt in the past, like I always think of this card, that maybe you had a rough patch, this may suggest that there is something on the horizon to uplift your spirits and to tell you to pursue your dreams and not to put them off any longer. This can also be an Aquarian individual. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner who assists you or encourages you as well. The higher message is the Seven of Pentacles. This is about assessing your progress. I typically think of this card associated with one's own business because you're doing the assessing. If you're working at a job and you just get a paycheck every week, you don't have to assess anything. It's going to be there for you. But the interesting thing about this is that this is the farmer's card. So the farmer is waiting for the harvest. Well, you don't know what the harvest can be. The harvest could be, maybe it's a bust and there's hardly anything, but maybe there's like more than you were expecting. And that's the beauty of it, because there is that, even if it's unpredictable, the potential is there for expansion. When you are making a certain amount of money in your paycheck, you can't say, unless you work by commission, but typically you can't say, well, I just want to make twice as much money next month. You can ask for a raise, but see, that was when I kind of came to that realization in my own life, because I was working retail, and I was working at a place where you get a raise for the first 2 years, and this is by the hour, and this is like not a living wage. And then they actually were giving 25-cent raises every 6 months after that. So I was thinking about that Or was it every year? I mean, it was just ridiculous. And the thing is, even if it's something much better than that, the point is that when you have a set amount of money, it kind of makes you like closed off from potential, the potential in life, in terms of what you could be doing. And I'm not talking about in terms of greed, I'm talking about just basic expansiveness. And you get lulled into that false sense of security, and then you kind of go to sleep, and you don't realize that we are unlimited beings, and our potential income is unlimited. That we're not limited by a certain amount that we're making right now. But the problem is that if you're working for somebody else, they kind of control that. And you can go to them hat in hand and say, can I have a raise? But even then, it feels like you're begging. And it's like there's not that good vibe that comes from when you're doing it yourself and you're setting your own prices and you're setting how much you're willing to work for something. It's like a totally different idea, and and I think that there's something about that that's very appealing to Sagittarians. What crosses you is the Page of Swords. So it could be a situation where you, for some reason, it's almost like, I was going to say it's like being shell-shocked, where you're so, if you were in a situation in a job before that, for instance, there was a lot of backstabbing in the office and that sort of thing, you may not be able to shrug that off as you may be doing your own thing. Or maybe you're working for somebody else, but you really like what you're doing right now. And this kind of mentality can cause you to be paranoid. And I would say in general, like the Star card, it's learning to trust more. And not just trust individual people, but trust the universe, that the universe has your back. So that regardless of what people do, people will do what they do, right? So we have to put our faith in something greater than that. If you want to say it's God, if you want to call it the universe, if you want to, just call it your higher self, even, I would say all of the above, then that's what you do. And you don't worry about what other people do. You let them do what they're going to do, and you know that you're going to land on your feet either way. Because this is a card, now this is kind of a continuation of that. This is either what's coming in, or what I would say this is more like advice. And it's the Three of Swords, and it's saying, I say in this position, as advice, it's saying cut something off at the root. Now this could be a person in your life. This card could be, maybe there's an air sign individual. I said an Aquarius, but maybe that Aquarius person isn't good. Maybe I thought that person was good. If there's an air sign or somebody who's like overly analytical, a Gemini, Aquarius, or a Libra individual, that person maybe doesn't have your best interests at heart. Doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It might be a friend. It might be, if you're a woman, a girlfriend. It could be whatever. It could be anybody. But it could be a coworker. But on the other hand, it could be that there's a relationship in your life. Maybe it's a love partner, but maybe it could be a friend too, that's dragging you down and it's preventing you from doing what you need to do. Sometimes, you could have somebody, you could have like a platonic friend, and you're telling them, oh yeah, and I started my own business, and they start giving you these subtle or not so subtle kind of what are called witch messages, which are like, these negative, subtly negative statements to try to cause you to have doubt about what you're doing. And when you can identify that, you know that that person is jealous, envious that you are doing something on your own, that you're not part of that wage slave mentality, for instance, and they may feel threatened by that because they still are in that situation. And instead of looking to you as an inspiration, they see you as a threat. Well, you might have to just cut that relationship loose and, just very quickly, and not just let it linger, because you're trying to go towards something greater and you don't need anybody to kind of hold you back. The outcome is the Seven of Cups. The world may be your oyster. You may have a lot of options to choose from. The world may open up for you. I got these two cards in different positions for another sign, and sometimes the Seven of Cups can indicate a confusion in terms of purpose. So make sure that you really spend some time alone and meditate and see if something comes up. Try to connect with your higher self about what it is that you need to do specifically. Maybe you're too broad in your goals and you're trying to spread yourself too thin. You're trying to overextend yourself, Sagittarians tend to do that. We tend to exaggerate and not focus on a particular thing. And that can lead to a bit of confusion about, which way to go. Write it down. Try to think of the kind of thing you'd like to specialize in. For instance, if you have your own business. And that way you can better communicate what you're all about with other people. If you're too all over the place, people may not see what you're doing in a contained sort of way. It may be too chaotic. Sometimes people, I would say even Sagittarians, we tend to be very versatile. And so we have so many interests that we want to do different things and put them all together, and sometimes they don't really fit. It's like when I started my channel, I was still in a mode of like trying to learn how to do predictive astrology. I knew about astrology for many years, but not predictive astrology too much. And while I was in that mode of like learning, I was making other types of videos that were, reflecting my interests, but they were really diverse because I have a lot of different interests. And if you were just to have like a YouTube channel where you just have all different types of subject matters, it probably is going to be hard to sustain an audience because you don't really have, it's too large of an umbrella. And sometimes you do have to specialize. So that could be what this is talking about, is the confusion that comes when you don't specialize. But it does talk about many opportunities, so that's really cool. I like the Ace of Wands the best. So I hope you enjoyed this, Sagittarius, and good luck to you in the upcoming months. Bye.